constantly, but it will pop up. So you should be good.
Okay. Okay. So I'm Deidre Quinn. I've been in the business for 20 years. And I took this open house class from a family reunion. Does everyone know what a family reunion is? Took it from family reunion and I adapted it. It was Chris Suarez did a class and I adapted it and we've changed it over time and made it our own. But this is a real tool that we use on our team. And between pending and closed, we've already pended or closed a couple million as a result of open houses in the last few months. Okay, so it really does work. If you want to just go around the room and tell me your first name and how long you've been in the business, or if you're in the business, just so I kind of have a feel.
My name is Kelvin. I got my license.
Okay,
And I've been like sort of a few PC classes and like the town process.
awesome, awesome. So you should leave this class with a system that you can implement right away, and it's not expensive.
My name's Owen, I'm about to say,
Owen?
yeah, I got my license about a month ago, so started out.
Okay, awesome. What did you do before?
I was in college.
Okay, great. What is it? Tio. Got it, thanks. And you're doing the course right now? Okay, great. Okay, great. You said, I got your last name is Curtis. What's your first name? Devon.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Amber, and I got license in November last year.
Okay,
Yeah,
of 2022.
yes,
Okay, have you been doing much business yet?
yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, this system should really help you get your, build your database. Does everyone here have a database?
A
Not
messy
yet.
one.
What's that?
A messy one.
A messy one that doesn't care. It doesn't matter how messy it is. It can be a card file if you print out. It can be an Excel spreadsheet. It can be in Google Drive, whatever it takes. Just make sure you have a database, and then, after you really get moving, you can learn through JP how to switch everything into command and really start using that system. But any database, just start building it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about what information to put in there. So why do we do open houses? Why do you think we would do open houses? Why are you gonna do open houses? And why are you here today? To learn what?
To gain more clients.
Okay, great. So to build your database, gain clients. And hello, and anyone want to add anything to that? Sure, so we all certainly do them for the seller as well, to show off that property. To give that property exposure and to put leads into our database, whatever database it is. Hi, welcome. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Deborah.
Deborah, nice to meet you. I'm Deidre. Hello,
Hello.
we're just getting started here. What's your name? Hi, Rich, I'm Deidre. How long have you been in the business, Deborah? If you are?
A long time.
A long time. Okay, great.
I've been over 4 years.
Okay, okay,
British youngster.
okay. Have you done many like closings for open house leads?
No, we've done open houses.
Uh-huh,
We've done leads, yes.
good. Good, so this system I took from Family Reunion, and it was originally taught by Chris Suarez and I.
Is there a sign-in sheet?
I don't have a sign-in sheet. Yeah, I don't have a sign-in sheet, but maybe JP will have one for everyone to sign in. Afterwards, I don't know what they track who goes to the classes. Well, But we do it open houses for 2 reasons. We do it for the sellers and we do it for lead generation to build our database. Correct, Lisa, this was gonna work.
I have a question, Brad.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the PS market, when houses were hard to find recently. Did they do a lot of open houses? I mean, it was still a current thing to do, or was it sort of, push the side a little
So
bit?
no, anytime we did fewer because we had fewer listings, right? However, I mean, we kill it with our open houses. It's one of our main forms of lead generation, so we do it. Unless the seller really likes us on it, we always do one. Because we lead generate around that so much that our team gets so many leads from it. And then, I mean, literally, we have one that we're on like our 4th or 5th lead right now from one open house. Because we door knock around it and we have a whole system around it, right? And, so the goal is always to get the appointment when you're at the open house. So you want to engage and provide value and you want to look for that open window to follow up. You'll leave with a proven system to implement. So you're gonna break it down. We're gonna talk about the 6 Ps: psyche, preparation, promotion, process, performance, and post-open. We'll talk about psyche first, and we'll talk about mindset, right? And Gary Keller breaks everything down and start with the end in mind, right? So if Gary Keller is the founder of Keller Williams, for anyone that doesn't know that, but he we're always looking at where we want to get to and developing a system around that. So you want to make sure that your time is worth the time on the task is worth the time that you're spending on it, right? So that's what that first equation is. And real estate's a database business. So everyone in this room should have a database. As we mentioned, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be like an index card file, or it can be an Excel spreadsheet. Yeah,
I'd like to know the technique. I'm mostly commercial, but I've done open houses. Do you think it's just as effective to do it once a month or once every week?
the more open houses you do, the more effective you are. And especially if you are able to do them in the same areas. Because you get to see some of the same people, right?
I had a neighbor once complained to me. I was going to open a house. They came over and were so nuts, you're ruining your summer weekends, you're there every weekend. I did the open house every weekend.
Well,
So,
and-
I never sold a house.
And you never sold that house, but
I never sold that house.
hopefully you sold other houses as a result. So, we don't always sit an open house and sell that house, right? Sometimes we sit an open house and we're selling other houses. I mean, it's very rare that someone walks into the house that you're sitting and says, oh, I want to buy this house, and you're waiting an offer 10 minutes later. That's not what this is about. You're presenting the house, you're presenting yourself in a positive light, and you're using the open house to lead generate while also giving the house exposure for the seller, right? So what your job is to engage the people. I don't use sign-in sheets. I don't use sign-in sheets at my open houses either. I'm engaging them. And when I'm engaging them, I'm classifying them into what section I'm putting them into my database. So we're turning our haven't mets into mets. And we'll talk about the economic model of the open house. If you have an income pool of 250,000, that's 8.5 in volume sold for a $300,000 average sale price. That's 28 homes sold. That means that if you have 168 people in your Met database at that 12:2 ratio, and you add 2 people from every open house into your database, which is very doable, right? That would be you sitting 84 open houses a year, 7 every month, or 1.75 every week. That's easy, right? Over 50% of all open house guests will hire the first person that they meet and are unrepresented. And a lot of agents, the consistency that I mentioned before, to do 2 to 4 open houses each weekend, 11 to 1 and 2 to 4 both days, repeating the same neighborhood, meeting the same people, and building network support. It's a menu though, it's not a system, it's a system, not a menu. So you can't pick and choose and just do part of this, you have to do the entire system for it to work. We do a lot of preparation for our open house, so we don't just say on Friday night, oh, I'm gonna do an open house tomorrow. We do a lot of preparation for that, and we start prepping for that open house at least the Monday before if we're doing it on that Saturday or Sunday. So, and then we spend the entire week preparing. So, some of the things that we do to, prepare for it is to target certain neighborhoods. So if you're doing open houses, I would say either schedule a couple in the same price range or schedule a couple in the same neighborhood. The reason for that is because you're gonna see some of the same people coming to both. Or you can say, oh, well, this house isn't quite right for you. I'm at this house tomorrow. Would you like to come stop by and see this tomorrow? I could get there a little bit early to get you in before the open house, right? Because then what you're doing is setting the appointment and setting that one-on-one time with them. So you wanna think about, you know, the last thing you wanna do is plan an open house in Center City on the St. Patrick's Day parade route during the St. Patrick's Day parade. The Eagles game, if the Eagles are in the playoffs, you probably don't wanna pick that time in Philadelphia to do an open house, right? So you wanna plan and strategically know what's going on around you and strategically plan when you're gonna do that. You wanna know how many visitors you're gonna expect. So if there's a inventory shortage and you're gonna expect 20 to 30 visitors, you wanna plan for that and you wanna have some kind of a backup there. Maybe you have a lender there to assist you or have someone else there to assist you. However, you know, because you're gonna have so many people to talk to if that's the case. But if you get 2 people to come to your open house and you engage both of them and you're getting them into your database, it's a successful open house. Sometimes more is not better, right? Know the location. So what can you do to know the location of an open house before you go and sit in an open house? Okay. Good. What else?
I think I just like walk around the neighborhood, see in person.
Okay.
Ask a neighbor. It's kind of a bold one.
Okay.
From school districts, we should be driving at different times of day, especially if it's more listing, you're gonna wanna do all that background work.
Okay. How about previewing the active listings in the neighborhood? Right? So how powerful would it be if you're at an open house with somebody and they say, oh, well, you know what, hello. And they say, well, you know, this house isn't quite right for me. I really want something with a bigger backyard space. Oh, well, you know what? I just saw this property around the corner the other day. And it sounds like it would check your boxes. Would you, I'm free today after this open house at 3 o'clock. Would you like me to meet you there around 3:15 or 3:30? How powerful is that? Because now you're, not only do you know the neighborhood, you know the inventory, but you're also now setting the appointment, which is your ultimate goal out of this whole process, right? So we preview that inventory. Make sure you get into any top properties that you can. On Tuesdays, a lot of times in Philadelphia, our brokers opens that you can attend brokers opens. So if there are any brokers opens, make sure to go to those early in the week on Tuesday. And that's also when we usually tend to preview the properties. So that you're really knowledgeable. And then the other thing that I encourage our agents to do is create a cheat sheet, right? So before you're going into the open house, you should have a cheat sheet. You should know everyone asks the same questions all the time, and you're going to be asked, well, what are the taxes? What's the square footage? What's the school catchment area in some cases? When was the roof done? Okay, so all of those kind of questions that you can either get off the seller's disclosure or get from the MLS doing your research, and just jot them down because you're gonna get them over and over. And keep them in your pocket, make sure that you have a couple open houses that weekend so you don't get them confused on an index card, whatever that is, right? So, as I mentioned before, we don't do sign-in sheets at our open houses because when you go into a, go ahead.
Yeah, that truck is, I mean, is it a requirement, no balloons, minimum signage sheets?
There's no requirement. This is the system on how we do it. This is how we have a couple million, and let me just get through this part. We're gonna break into a breakout session in a minute. But this is how we actually get, we engage people, we provide them items of value, and we get them to give us their information, because if you go into a store, right, and every place does it now, it makes me nuts. What's the first thing like you go up to the register to pay for something, what do they say to you?
It's your email.
What's your phone number most of the time, right? But what's your email sometimes, what's your phone number? Who in here gives them real information at that point? Who gives them fake information? Okay.
Something I really want.
Unless it's something you really want, bingo. So what do you think happens when people walk into your open house? Oh, could you sign in, please? They're giving you fake information, so then when you go to follow up the next day, it's not the right information. So what's the point? There's no point on having fake information.
Personal experience. Happened once. Did an open house. There that one that I did every weekend. Customer comes in. Most of the people were honest. What happened was my listing expired. I didn't have a registration there. And they cheated me on my commission, but they came to my open house and used it another realtor when my listing expired. My listing said that I used that if I showed it, I had proof, but I sent the registration in too late. My listing expired, but I got cheated out of the commission, and they were truthful. They wrote the name down and everything, so I prefer myself to make sure I have a register. Some of them were truthful.
So that sounds like a really perfect storm of a lot of things that went wrong.
That's
And
correct.
and I feel like there's a lot of different things that I would do to correct that before that situation happened. However, I mean, and it does happen sometimes that we lose out, right? We can look back and say we should have, and that happens to all of us. But the bottom line is that as a general rule, if you follow this system, we have a couple million in the last couple of months just from using the system. And it's tried and true. Chris Suarez that originated this, built expansion teams across the country using this model of open houses. So it works as long as you do the whole system. And so you hit something on that. Is it Everest? Okay. Your second classroom. If you said items of value, right? If not,
Yes,
right?
that's
So
it, yeah.
that's the road that you were going. So what, tell me what items of value you would provide to somebody at an open house?
I can tell you when properties that haven't come on the market is becoming available soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good one. So what I want you to all do right now is break up into groups of 2 or 3 people and come up with a list. And you only are gonna have a couple minutes. Come up with a list of things of value that you can exchange verbally or by text or email, hint, that you can exchange in exchange for their correct information. So they're not putting it on a sign and sheet and giving you incorrect information.
Great.
Does that make sense? Does everyone understand what that task is? And then I'm gonna have you go around and tell me what that is. Okay, ready, set, go.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, just about 30 more seconds here, we'll start going over them.
You know, and then
Hey, is everyone ready to start telling me what they have on their list?
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay. You want to say it? Say it.
Okay, yep,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
events happening in the area.
Events, I like that. Events happening nearby. What is it? Okay, great.
Yeah, he says.
School attachments, that's great. Your school information,
Yeah, coming to the property.
okay.
So offerings that.
Okay,
And, I think something else.
I can't read or what that looks like. That's great. Do you have anything different over here?
Yeah, so I have like, if they come in and ask them questions, like, can you see, if you go to the neighborhood, can you see yourself getting brunch at a park, or walking your dog around House Square, or going to Christmas Village or on the holidays, asking them questions about the neighborhood.
Okay,
Like personally excited, like you're from the area, about, oh, yeah, I agree with you.
okay,
Ask them questions based on that.
okay, so that's all good is engaging them with questions, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Okay, do you have anything else to add, like, that you would put in an electronic folder that you could share with them to try and get their information?
Like something. Extra, like, send an email out with that, you register on. So you can just plug that information.
So that could work, it's kind of in line with doing a sign-in sheet, and, I'm not sure if you were here or not when I was like giving the example that. If you went to a store and they ask me for your email and your phone number, a lot of people aren't gonna give you the right one, so. Kind of what you wanna do is try to engage them to give them something of value, right, so that they do get the right information. Which could be information about the neighborhood, some personal information about, you know, maybe do restaurant reviews or coffee shop reviews of the best places or something like that. And that would be an awesome thing, like to put in there, like you were saying. I think the questions and the way that you're phrasing them are really good and good questions for when you're speaking to them and engaging them and getting them to you know, engage with you to then find out what could be of value. What, who else? Does anyone else have anything that they want to add? This group over here, yeah, so we'll go through all of them, they'll be on my list.
Actually,
Okay,
this is called. One of us.
yeah, so you know what's nice is electronic business cards now, right? Because if you have an electronic business card, you can actually send it to them and you're getting their information by sending it, right? So an electronic business card, because you're getting a piece of that information, is even better sometimes than handing them a business card.
So you get their name and numbers.
Yeah, so I get their name and number by providing whatever item of value that we're providing. So some of the things that you said, such as comps, such as other opens in the area, such as,
The electronic business card, though, you said if you send that, you get your info in this room. Like,
well, you do well because if you're texting it to them, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you're
no,
texting it to them, you're getting their number, right? So you're emailing it to them, you're getting their email. So we can get a piece out and it's
yeah,
right to good. How did you have anything else? I know you look at it.
Sellers disclosure and the tax information, send them the property history that's already on the list, doesn't even take any more work. We said a market report of the area, how many listings, and just like a neighborhood snapshot. What else do we say? It's some creative ones, try and like just,
Yeah, information about the property. That's what that you would want. Direction.
Yeah, so those are all good things that are on our list, and we spend a week before preparing our electronic folder. So that we have a list and as wide of a list as we can, so that we have something to share with them, right? So did you have anything to add to that? No. So these are the things on our list. I think we pretty much hit them all. A digital flyer, MLS sheet, active pending sold, economic reports. List of properties in the area, list of open houses for the day or the weekend, a data report for the neighborhood. A Google Doc, a lead sheet, so that really depends on how you want to track, like, if you're using command, you can probably enter things into command as you go. I actually like to just put it into my notes, because then I make notes of what I promised them that I'm gonna give them. So I get their name and I get their information, and then I can keep on going and go easily go back to people. As opposed to then trying to remember their name and find them after I've entered them. So, but I tried it all differently, so it really comes down to what works for you. Text or email an app, whether it's a business card app or KW app, neighborhood guide, school catchment information. Our off-market listings, a mortgage flyer, restaurant reviews or unique openings, first-time home buyer guide, home seller guide. Kelly Market Snap, market update report, comparables, market update report. Electronic business cards, which COVID was a really great excuse for that too, because we weren't handing out paper, right? So that's what we like kind of adjusted some of those things. And then any tax information, which the group is invested at the Atlas website. And any articles that might be of interest in the neighborhood.
I have a good one. Oftentimes, the property I can tell is a good. What feels like someone's gonna buy and rent it at that end, especially these center city properties, you wanna know what you can rent for. So if you send them other rentals in the area comparable, they can get an idea of what, if they buy this, they can rent it out for X amount. And that's anytime you meet an investor, you're gonna wanna know what this property is.
So the more things, that's great, the more things that you have in your electronic folder, and we just do it in Google Drive. So we can share it amongst our team. But the more information you have, the more likely you're gonna have something of interest to the person that's coming to your open house. So every strategy is moving towards getting them into your database. So we're gonna talk about preparation and promotion. We'll skip that. So on Monday, we're scheduling the opens as they go into the MLS. We're mailing any postcards if it's the open house launch. You don't have to do the expense of mailing. If you don't want to do the expense, you can also just print flyers. We do that, and then we door knock and flyer the neighborhood. On Tuesday, the host agent does preview appointments, attends any brokers opens, reviews any videos, and does drive-bys of nearby properties. On Wednesday, we're preparing our electronic folder with items that you can send them. We have our catchment map, mortgage rate sheet, info on the neighborhood restaurant openings, and property information flyer. All those things, we're building all of that and putting it into our electronic folder. On Thursday, we're inviting people that have attended other open houses. We're flyering, and agents prepare that cheat sheet to help them answer any common questions. And we already went over, like, how old is the roof? How long did the seller own the property is one I didn't mention. Why are they selling? If you're able to obtain that information, square footage, taxes. Parking is a big question in the city. Where is nearby parking? So if you're in Center City or Washington Square West or, you know, any of the neighborhoods where people ask about parking a lot, know what the parking garages are nearby and how much they charge, right? And if there's a wait list, because a lot of them have a wait list, so that's all helpful information to prepare. And then the school catchment, food spots, coffee shops. And you know, back to what you, with the questions, like, oh, have you ever gone to Angelo's? Have you ever had Sir Cohn's bread? Like, you know, wherever you are, know what those places are, because the more you can engage them and talk to them, the easier that relationship and will be, right, to get that point. If there's a fireplace, everyone always asks about the fireplace, so just know if it's working or not. Is it working? Is it not working? Is it gas? Is it electric? And it, like, they always ask about the fireplace. And that goes for even when you're like showing a house, like look at the seller's disclosure and see if the fireplace is working, because everyone wants to know that. And then on Friday, we know what properties are vacant and easy to show, so that if after that open house, if that property isn't quite right for them, you can quickly get that appointment to meet them someplace else. On the day of the open, we put signs out, we post on social media, on Instagram story, Facebook Live, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever your social media choices are, we're posting on those. I have a couple of questions in the chat that I'm going to try to access here, so give me one minute. New buyer checklist, newsletter for people interested in starting a home search, but not sure where to start. So yeah, those are great things to add. Yeah, in addition, a new buyer checklist is great. If you have a newsletter is a good thing. And if you want to take any photos of these, or if you want some of the additional information, I'm happy to give it to you. And not necessarily access to the presentation itself, but I'm happy to give you anything that you missed or copies of photos of something. And you can feel free to just email me at deidre@deidrequinn.com. And if I write it on the board, I think you'll be able to see it, so I'll do that. So we'd like to put out a lot of signs, we'd like to direct people there, and I think it's important to go to the house a couple of days before. So that you can invite your sphere, right? So that you let people know in your sphere that you're going to do the open house and you're doing a live video. Or, you know, even better yet, if it's an initial open house and that's launching and people haven't even seen it yet, then you get to do it a day or two before it even hits the market, which is super powerful. So we spend a lot of time preparing the entire week before we're preparing. We also do coming soon around our open houses, so we'll go coming soon earlier in the week, so people get that hype, and then we'll go live on a Thursday. And showings will start like usually on Friday. But when we're doing that, we of course get it ready from the seller that it'll be coming sooner and there's no showings during that time. But that helps create that urgency around the open house, drives people to the open house, so we know that it'll be a successful open house with traffic. We've done mega open houses where we've done drawings for gift cards and gadgets and pet popcorn trucks, ice cream vendors. We've done all of that. You don't have to spend any money doing any of that when you're doing your open houses. This we more do when we have several open houses in a specific area. So what we do before the open house, I mentioned that we flyer the neighborhood and we door knock the area nearby, because people want people to move to their neighborhood, right? So neighbors sell houses for us. They tell their friends, they tell their family members, they invite people to the open house. So we make them flyers, like open house flyers announcing the open house, and a couple days before, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, depending on if it's a Saturday or Sunday open house, we're going and inviting people. And we're seeing I'm holding this open house just down the street and want to invite you to come take a look at the house. I found that people who live in the neighborhood typically live here because they love it. So if you have any family or friends who might be interested in the neighborhood, you can call and invite them as well. Right, so we're inviting them, we're not saying, oh, like, you know, just telling them about the open house or asking them to buy it or selling ourselves in any way, we're inviting. And people usually like to be invited, so it's nothing scary that like, and then when we're flyering, if we don't get anybody at the door, and our goal is usually to talk to between 5 and 10 people when we go out and do that. And set a realistic goal for yourself, like, don't say, oh, I'm gonna go talk to 100 people, because that's impossible. Pretty much, it would take you a couple of hours to pass out about 50 flyers and talk to about 10 people, right? Depending on how spaced out the houses are. And if we don't get them, we will, and some neighborhoods are gonna be different than others, some are gonna like, everyone will answer the door and some fewer will answer the door. I've been some places where people invite me in right then to come and look at their house, I mean, it can be very engaging, depending on the time of day you do it as well. Right, so plan that out. We do have success on Fridays later in the day. And on Saturday morning, so you just kind of have to feel out the neighborhood and decide what time is best to do it. And then we watch those no solicitation things, so we won't put, if someone has those, we won't leave anything, like no circulars or whatever. Otherwise, we're not using mailboxes, we're usually sticking them inside the doors. Like if someone has a storm door or something like that. Or on the top of a mailbox. So we're gonna talk about performance next when we're actually at the open house. And this is where you really have to practice. So when I first started doing this, we did 4 million our first year of implementing doing open houses this way, just from open houses. And we practice, I practiced, and I wouldn't give up until I really got it down, right? So when you're at the open house, first of all, if you're just gonna be standing in the corner on your phone, there's no point on going, don't bother, don't waste your time. You have to be engaging with the people to get the results. So, Owen, right? Okay, do you want to volunteer for me?
Sure.
Awesome. So I'm gonna be the agent hosting the open house, and you're just gonna be the person coming to my open house. Okay, so come on up. And you can, so let's say you're really looking for a house. Okay, so you can say that, yeah, looking for a house, whatever, and then you can try to pay with it. If you're looking for something bigger or smaller or whatever. Okay, so now you can knock on the door, and I always like to stand close to the door for most of the time because I like to catch them right when they're coming in. Hi, come on in. I'm Deidre Quinn. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you,
Owen. Oh, what's your last name?
O'Brien?
Nice to meet you, Owen. Owen O'Brien. Come on in. I'd love to show you around. Okay, so the first thing, I said my first and last name. 50% of the people will mirror that. He gave me his first name. If I don't quickly follow up with and get his last name right there, I'm not getting it the rest of the time. It's so much harder. Okay, so now I know his name is Owen O'Brien, and I just quickly type that into my phone, or you could speak into your phone or whatever that is you have it. So I'm gonna take Owen around, and we're gonna start just kind of talking. Did you happen to just pass by today, or are you looking in the neighborhood?
I'm looking in the neighborhood,
Oh, good, oh, good. Are you familiar with the neighborhood?
not really,
Oh, okay, great. Where are you coming from?
New Jersey,
Oh, okay. Where in New Jersey are you?
Blackwood.
Okay, great. So you're looking to move into the Queen Village area?
Yep,
Very nice, very nice. Is anything specifically driving you to this specific neighborhood, or are you open to other neighborhoods?
I'm open to other neighborhoods.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, you know what? I've been in this neighborhood for a long time, and I'm happy to share any of the information that I know with you. So let me give you the tour of the house.
Very cool.
So I'm gonna engage him. I'm gonna take him through the house. At the same time, I'm learning about him. What do I already know about him? I told you that we're gonna put it into our database, right? And what wherever. Okay, so Blackwood, New Jersey, but what category are we putting? What category are we putting buyer? Buyer and is a future buyer, immediate buyer? I would say pretty immediate, seems to be coming to open houses, right? Seems like the time, and we're gonna be continue to ask those questions to get to the bottom of it, right? How long have you been looking?
About a month.
Okay, do you currently rent or do you own your home?
Right.
You rent, but when is your lease up?
Okay.
Oh, okay, so you wanna probably find something pretty quickly.
Yep.
Okay, so now he's an immediate buyer for sure, right? Okay, great, well, how have you been getting into houses?
Just looking around Facebook or open houses.
Okay, great, so what do I know now? No agent, yay, okay, this is great, so now I have his first and last name, I know that he lives in Blackwood, he rents, I know when his lease is done, we know where we're categorizing him in our database. So I have all that information already. So how does the space feel for you here?
Very nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does it check off the boxes of the things that you've kind of been looking for?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good. And then, you know, so at that point, right? I need to get more information from him and say like, okay, well, so what am I going for next? We have, next I want to get his email address, right? So. What am I gonna ask him and to give him a value for this home?
I can see you really like the house, I wanna make sure it's within your budget. Do you know what the property taxes in this area look like? Have you looked into that already? Oh, you haven't? Let me send you over the property tax information.
That'd be very nice.
Okay, great. Well, you know what? Oh, and let me get your email address. But you know what? Let me just get your number in case I get a bounce back. Okay, so now I have his email address and his number, and if I don't get his number right then, I'm also not getting his number, right? And then what happens is I'm missing, what piece of information am I missing? I'm missing his mailing address.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest piece to get. He rents, so it'd be good if I got his mailing address right now. But we're gonna engage further because he seems to be really interested in this house. Can I answer any other questions about the house for you?
Don't have any questions right now. No.
Okay, you know what, I mean, would you like me to meet you back so that you can kind of have a showing after? Are you the decision maker?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, good. So do you want to, the open house ends at 3, so do you want to like, let me finish up with that and come back at 3:15?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, great. So you know what, now I set the appointment too, right? It's unlikely that people are always interested in that specific house. And then sometimes they are, sometimes they would want to come back to that. If he's not interested in this house and something doesn't check the boxes, I'm gonna take him to a different house that I previewed that week and get him into a different house down the street, right? Yeah, go ahead. Thank you very much. You're awesome.
I didn't get it from the, I'll find out if they're working information or not, you just like come up and ask them or just,
If you go up and ask somebody, my experience is they always say, yes, I have an agent. Okay, and so I never ask, do you have an agent? I said, what I said to Owen was, how have you been getting into houses? Have you been getting into houses?
Oh, okay.
Okay, oh, you know, I've been looking online, Facebook, and then I like the open houses kind of thing was the answer that I got, right? If somebody has an agent, they say, oh, you know what, my agent's away this week and told me to come to she's down the shore or whatever, and told me to come to the open house. Okay, what's your agent's name? Okay, so when I'm the seller's agent and I need feedback from you, I'm the one that needs to follow up with those sellers, with those other agents to get the feedback. So I'm gonna say, what's that agent's name? Once somebody tells you that they have an agent and gives you their name and you're certain that, you know, they're working with that person, move to the next person, right? Because you're to generate leads, not that you don't wanna be cordial and answer the question, but you wanna generate leads. So you're less concerned at that point with that person and moving on to the next person that you can add into your database.
Have you had an instance where you asked what their agent name was and they couldn't give it to you because they didn't actually have an agent?
Yes, however, it's much more rare when you ask the question the way I did, as opposed to the other way. I mean, I've had people like that I know go to open houses and call me later that day or text me and say, oh, by the way, we went to open houses today and gave out your name and said we're working with you, whatever. Okay, great. When do you think, so you get that when you're like, because people don't want to do that, but they already, like, they knew they were gonna work with me. So you get a little bit of that sometimes. So don't, But if people give you their name and like, then it's pretty certain that they'll let it go. And from an ethics standpoint, that's where you kind of wanna leave it alone, right?
Let's say if you were an agent and you go out to like other open houses, how would you put yourself out there and how would you put them? Like if you're an agent,
So if you're an agent, you should identify yourself that you're an agent, right? So that the person hosting the open house doesn't spend time with you and you don't take up their time. Right, so I always just say, hi, I'm Deidre Quinn, I'm an agent, like whatever, and I just go through, right? So if you're an agent or if you're an agent with clients, oh, hi, I'm Deidre Quinn, you know what, we're gonna be going through the open house and whatever, I'll follow up with any questions kind of thing. And I let them go about their lead gen and doing what they're doing, and I take my clients through. Now, we might have questions that we stop and ask them afterward, we made our turn to do that.
Why take the client that's interested in the open house and schedule them a private showing after the open house instead of showing them the house during the time you're on?
We had already gone through that. That was like kind of a fake mock scenario, but we had already gone through the house. They saw the house, they liked the house. But you know, at an open house, presumably there's more people coming in.
Okay, you're right,
Right.
I want to give this person
Attention, we want to make sure that they have time to actually see the house. In that case, the person was really super interested in the house, right?
Okay,
I mean, normally if they're not interested in the house, I'm meeting them at a different house
right,
and trying to get that appointment at a different house.
Okay.
Right?
okay.
Okay, so this is basically what we have already done. We strategically got their name and number, email and mailing address. Now, the one piece that we didn't talk as much about is a mailing address. It's harder when somebody rents. But at that point, right, if somebody lives nearby, it's easier because you can be like, oh, what block do you live on? Like, I lived in the neighborhood for a long time. What block do you live on? They tell you the block. If they own their house, you can look them up. But you really want to work towards getting all that information, because when you put them into your database and you break out your plans, whether it's your 8x8, which ours is really an 8x14, or your 36 touch plan, like all that information is important if you're incorporating all forms of reaching out to people. Whatever technology you decide to capture those leads, providing value, we talked about how we provide value to make sure that we get their information. And this is the open house script that I said, are you out shopping for a home today, or do you happen to live in the neighborhood? Are you looking for a house? Are you currently renting the property you live in, or do you own? Do you live in the neighborhood? What requirements are you looking for your own home? Those are all things that I asked and questions that I asked, but it was all practiced at some point, right? Bless you. It's all practiced. Like, I didn't just go in and like, you know what questions, you know what answers you're looking for, and you're gonna organize your questions accordingly. I have something else in the chat. Yeah, okay, so good question. Do I walk all people through, and how do I handle that if multiple people come at the same time? It kind of can be a judgment call. I like to stay towards the front door for a couple of reasons, and we're gonna talk about safety after this class a little bit, so I'm gonna try and fly through some of these things to the walk. But do I walk all people through? No, I usually, in the city homes, I usually stay towards the door. I let them walk through some of the house. I'll walk them through the main level, try to engage them. Try and get the bulk of that information before they go upstairs. And then when they go up, and then greet the next people as they come through. If multiple people come at the same time, I do the best that I can. If one person has an agent and they give me that agent's name, I'm moving on to the next person.
That raises a good point that because of safety and security. With multiple people coming into a house, being at the door is the best position for you. But you have to know information about people that would walk into the place. Or you don't know who's walking through. But they never give you any information that you don't have a problem.
If they give you wrong information on a sign-in
No,
sheet,
no.
that isn't really helpful either. So, I mean, this is really more about lead generation as opposed to protecting the client's personal property. And when I am listing a property, I'm very thorough and go over that with my clients to take their valuables out. I mean, and if you're standing by the door, they're not leaving with the flat screen or the, you know, whatever, but you know, any jewelry like that, my clients have already been advised to remove it. And if you think you're gonna be so busy that you need somebody on another
Yes,
floor,
yeah.
then you bring somebody with
You
you.
know, that, so,
I mean, we've done that too, so. So giving their contact information, my name is, what's your name? I always say my first and last name, as I said, and I get their last name right off the bat. The next piece I go for is their email address, exchanging that information in some way by email. And getting their phone number as a follow-up for a backup. And then when I'm following up with them, if I follow up with them by email that afternoon and I don't hear back from them, they're already kind of expecting that I'm gonna text them or call them, right? Because I already asked them for if I get a bounce back. And then I follow up and say, oh, I sent you the information yesterday, just wanted to make sure you got it. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't reply to your email, right? So you get the engagement then. Would it be of value to you if I provided you with, I've been really enjoyed working with you and would love to consider our conversation, would that be okay? If you want to cheat at a condo building, and this is easy, if you have to let people in, you can leave a post-it note and they're texting you, you're already getting a piece of that information. How have you been getting into houses is my line around asking people if they have an agent. This is a quote from Gary Keller, the best in the industry never allowed lead generation to fall prey to the ebb and flow of enthusiasm on the market. They systematize such that little energy is required to keep the machine running. So after the open house, oh, we're done. We just spent all these hours preparing for the open house, doing the open house, and I just can't wait to go watch that game now, right? You have to leave time to finish the job, okay? And you, right after the open house, you're gonna classify that lead and add them to your database. You're gonna write a thank you note to all the neighbors and any visitors that you have or can find their information, their mailing address. You're gonna call and email all visitors. We connect with people 14 times in the next 8 weeks. We used to do an 8x8, and then we increased it to 10, and then 12. And then we did $2 million of business off of a client after reaching out to them 14 times. So now we reach out to them 14 times. And we became very close to that client, right? And he was in sales, so we had the opportunity to ask him a lot of questions. His kid actually fell into a pool on one of our showings after this weekend. So anyway, we got pretty close to him, and don't let your clients fall in pools. We became very close to them and we're able to kind of ask, like, well, what made you respond? We reached out to you 14 times. What made you respond then? And his response to us was, you know what, you weren't annoying. You kept reaching out with valuable information because we kept, dripping him with different valuable information, but personal, wasn't automated. And he said, you know what, I was ready and I liked what you had been sending me and you had basically hit me at the right time, right? So that was 14 weeks. So he bought a house with us, referred us somebody, and referred us somebody else after that. So it's probably, yeah. So after the fact, it just depends, right? You tailor it to really what that person is looking for. So if that person is looking in the neighborhood, it might be, oh, this listing just came up, or this listing's coming soon, or an article about the neighborhood. Like, I mean, we do rack our brains sometimes on what we're gonna send them because we want to make sure we're sending them something of value. Sometimes it might be information, the homestead exemption is always a good thing at certain times of year that you can send to people. Oh, I noticed you don't have the homestead exemption on our current home, like whatever, here's the link to sign up for that.
and you said the card, you said it's 14x8.
No, we touched them 14 times over the, yeah, so,
Okay.
yes. And then, so we do note cards, email, call to all visitors. We thank them, we send an app, sometimes we send open house in the neighborhood, other properties. And we do those follow-ups. Usually the same day is best because people are impressed by that, right? People are very now, by 9 o'clock the next morning is kind of late these days in time 2023 time, I guess, but and then make sure you let them know that you can show them any property they see online. Not everyone knows that.
What's the approximate cost of the mailings, like if you do 500, and you have to go through Keller Williams, you can get your own?
No, you can do your own. We do a hundred piece mail surround, and I think it costs us like, I don't know, maybe it's $50 or $60 for each mail surround. However, we only do that on our own listings and on the launch. If you want to just do flyers, when we're door knocking, that doesn't cost us. I mean, it costs us the price of the copies. And we put between 2 and 4 copies on a page. My team does all that, but then we just print them here for however much a color copy is. And then we slice them with a slicer. So the cost is minimal for the 50 things or 60 flyers that we're passing out door knocking before the open house.
You let into another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of my agents, I have another officer. One of my other agents, a couple of years ago, was in Cheltenham, and he was passing out flyers, and the person in the house came out and yelled at him and said, "We're reporting to Cheltenham police, you're not allowed to just pass out flyers, so we go door to door."
I mean, I guess my thought on that is most people are receptive. I've had people invite me in. Have I had a door slammed on my face before? I have, but you know what? It's not my fault they're having a bad day, and I'm really only inviting them to the open house, and not that many people do that, because you know what? I'm not going and saying like, oh, like, do you want to buy this house? I'm not saying that. I'm like, hi, my name's Sarah Quinn. I'm working really hard for my seller, right? Because then what are they? They're future sellers too. And they're like, wow, Teaser works really hard for our clients. Oh my goodness, right? So who are they going to call if they don't have an agent and they're looking for an agent? You. So you go and you knock on the doors and you engage people. Very rarely do people slam the door in my face, right? Usually I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm having this open house. It's a brand new listing. I just want to let you know. If you know anybody that might want to come, please invite them. Or if you want to stop by, I'd love to show you the house. Right? So you're inviting them, you're engaging them, and people like to be invited, like whatever. And it depends on the neighborhood. I mean, we have listings that in Delaware County, and oh my goodness, like these people, like they all like are so like they invite you in. They're like, I did Roxborough. I went into several houses at one point, and I was door knocking with another agent, and I was like, you know what, I'm going into this house. And I'm walking into the house and I don't know the people, whatever. So you always have to have a backup plan for that. But at the same time, you know what, different neighborhoods react differently too. And depending on what time of day you do it, we do really well on a Friday afternoon and a Saturday morning. But
So you're door knocking for the Saturday afternoon open house, sometimes Saturday morning in front of them.
yes.
You're doing it the day before the morning.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it.
I'm a big fan of handwritten thank you notes, so and then updates about the property. So that's another thing that you can send is if the property is under agreement or that there's multiple offers or something like that, you're sending that to them. Here's a follow-up script. We met earlier today at the open house. I want to let you know I did a little digging when I got back to the office and I found several properties in the neighborhood where we met the matching criteria. The house that you saw today wasn't quite right, but I think these few others might have some potential. And then try to set that appointment, whether it's in the office or wherever that is. Then you put them into your other campaigns, right? So after you do your personal touches, however many those are going to be, 14 is a good number. You're going to put them into your other campaigns and trick them. The power behind having big goals is really about the power of acquiring big habits by beginning with the end in mind. And I don't think we do those surveys anymore. So really quick, the reason that I actually, Bill Carricker teaches this class sometimes as well. Hi, Bill. However, I did want to talk about safety a little bit, and we talked about that a little bit as we went through. However, you do have to be careful, right? And just be aware of your surroundings, make sure someone knows where you are, make sure you have a plan. So there's times like, I parked my car, there were people parking, there were people across the street. I was literally going into like one of those Wilco door crawl space basements. And I'm like, gosh, this isn't really not comfortable, right? As I'm watching people watch me do this across the street, and I just had this uncomfortable feeling. So I called somebody and I was like, I'm going into this basement, here's property that I'm at, whatever. And I was just on the phone doing what I had to do so that if I did get close to basement, at least someone knew where I was. So think about those things. I like to stand towards the front door of a house when I'm doing an open, so that, in the event that I do get uncomfortable or need to get out, I'm close to the front door. So you shouldn't like go into a house and, I don't necessarily lead people, you try and get them to go in front of you. So that you're not in the backyard, like picturing a city house, in a trapped area where, someone has you trapped. You're letting them go out, like you don't have to go out and show them the concrete, right? You're letting them go out and you're standing at the back door and kind of coming back in. So think of all those things when you're doing your open houses, because you're inviting the public. And then even before you take clients out, you should be, have their information and make sure that ideally have them pre-approved, but these days, the school of thought is to get the appointment, right? Before you even talk about financing, right? It used to be get them pre-approved first, and it's getting a little harder now. But you want to make sure that you vetted them. So whether that's having their phone number, Googling them, whatever that is, to try and vet them. And then if you are uncomfortable, bring somebody else showing with you, right? Bring somebody, another agent, or bring somebody that, bring somebody with you, or even leave them in the car. Always let someone know where you're going. So we have a code in our office. So if we get a call or a text that says, bring the red folder to 633 Herb Street, we know that there's an urgent situation at 633 Herb, and we need to do something about it, right? And then alert your clients not to let people into their house. How many times people go knocking on a door with a sign on it and clients let them in? They shouldn't be doing that, right? Like that's just opening themselves up. So go over that with your clients. And I always used to put clients in my car pre-COVID, and it was kind of really nice actually, like to make that switch. And now I haven't really gone back to putting many people in my car, which I actually kind of like, right? So it's a liability thing to have people in your car all the time. But even from more of a standpoint of like, that's also a safety issue if you don't know the people, right? So keep that in mind, that they can always follow you or meet you there. And then know where you are, know where you're gonna get cell service and where you're not. And I don't always advertise that it's a vacant home, right? So, and if you're at all uncomfortable, you should know what homes are vacant, but you don't share that. How many times people call up, is it vacant, other agents, and I don't even want to give them, I don't know, is it really Susie Smith on the other phone saying that, asking that question, I don't know.
Andrew, a lot of people, when people come in, they always say, does anybody live here? Are they still living here?
Yeah,
Well, how there's some furniture, there's no furniture, so you have to have an answer.
yeah, that's exactly
They're
right.
here for their vacation, or they're around the corner, they live now, something.
Yeah, so I usually, it depends on the situation, but I'll say, what, yeah, they come and go often, or whatever that is, right? Because you don't want people to just know that it's vacant and then it's you don't know who you're talking to. And I think that's all. Does anyone have any questions? I'm probably running late, so do I have somebody right at my heels? I certainly help with any questions after the fact. If anyone wants to talk to me about any of it at any time, I'll put my email up there. If
Teacher, are you open to them getting access to this?
so not necessarily the presentation, because there's a lot of things that probably need to be changed, but if they want any of the scripts or any of the slides, I'm happy to send you them individually. That's totally fine.
Schedule, right?
What's that?
Open house schedule, a big bubble.
Yeah.
I need to go find back.
Yeah, that's okay. And I'm happy to send, like, cut and paste all these out and send you the slides that are important to you, so. Or checklist, we have some checklists I can send you to. That,
Third, yeah.
and then there was one more. Can I read my email address somewhere?
Yeah,
Yeah, and then work towards that, it would be the big one. Thank you.
Ooh, there we go. Is that a dry erase?
Prairies.
Okay, so if anybody wants to email me for any of the information, I'm happy to provide it. Okay. Can you read my writing? Deidre@deidrequinn.com. Just spell Deidre right. Otherwise it goes to the wrong place. Oh, okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deidre. Want to give them a minute to,
Yeah, absolutely.
all right, so we'll get started with Colette's class in a minute or two. She's also gonna pass around a sign-in sheet if everyone can just sign in with their name and email address.
And the reason I want that is we'll set up, over JP can also send you a copy of the slides, but I will get everyone set up in the real program. So you can order in about 45 seconds, and then there's a data collection that you do to get the $50 on closed warranties. There's a short form you have to complete, and it's even shorter if you do it in the port, because half of the information is already gonna be pre-populated for you. So it's really the fastest way to do that. We get you all set up. So, warranty that you want to sell when you list the house. Things today, because we have a lot more agents that have been for a while only using it with buyers, primarily who didn't have home inspections. And I know there's still some of those out there. I'm getting more calls from agents who maybe a few years back always used warranties on their listings, stopped when things got kind of crazy. And now are like, you know what, like they're seeing maybe days on market get a little bit higher, you know. Multiple offers, but they're not as crazy as they used to be, and they're starting to look more at the listing side. Right. So how long is the presentation? Is it an hour? It probably won't go an hour, like the presentation. I'm here for questions. But if you know, I'm gonna get to the meat of it pretty quickly. JP, let me know when you think that you want me to start.
It looks like everyone, listen, Richard might be, the rest of it, so.
Okay.
And, you know, they're limited, or it's good.
Absolutely.
While we wait, I will let you all know, I just found out yesterday, but within 2 to 4 weeks, we should be getting in the Command mobile app, the direct import feature for your phone contacts. So no longer do you need to get a third-party app to rip the contacts from your phone into your Command database. We'll be able to do it right through the app, and it's literally takes seconds. They tried it with 13,000 contacts, and that only took 11 minutes. So it works very quickly, it works very well, and we should see it within a month.
And I saw something in Deirdre's slides about a 33 touch program, and we're gonna actually kind of touch on that part of it too. About building your database.
Go ahead, what do you think? JP, you okay, if I go ahead and start?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Colette Staub. I'm with America's Preferred Home Warranty. Some of us may have spoken on the phone and never met in person, so if I don't look familiar to you, that's probably why. I was down here last for your awards, so about a month ago, I was in the office. But I wanted to come in today and talk with you because as the market's changing, as I was just saying, more agents are interested in warranties on listings. It's been really a focus on buyers, especially buyers without inspections the past few years, but it is definitely changing. So we're going to talk about how you can build your business. So we're going to talk about market conditions. What happens when there is a warranty on the listing? What's the seller's coverage? What's going on with buyers and sellers right now? Maybe some objections you might get from sellers and buyers that you're working with. What are the benefits to you as an agent, right? So days on market are still really low, but a lot of people are telling me they're seeing in their particular, or maybe say micro market, they're starting to see the days go up. So is that the case for anybody in here? You're seeing days on market a little bit higher than they were, say, this time last year? That's what I'm being told. They're inching up, they're still low. Inventory is still low, which I've been in the real estate world since 1995. I actually worked on the brokerage side until 2020. Not knowing that the pandemic was coming in early 2020, and I moved into this role. So I was brand new to it, and everything, as you remember, shut down in early March, right? So it was really very interesting. But I was on the brokerage side for 25 years, primarily in relocation. And this inventory situation, I guess it's been 6 or 7 years now since it started and has continued, and it's gotten worse. I don't know where we're going to see that end, but I do know, looking back on the perspective since 1995, real estate ultimately is sort of cyclical. So something would change this and it will go back to being, and a lot of agents are telling me they're already seeing the seasonality is back. Because that disappeared completely. It was sort of like flat out crazy the whole year long. Now going back, they said, especially over the holidays, well, the end of 2022, they started to see that seasonality coming back into business. So litigation definitely on the rise. Where I have seen this is we have something called client secure. So client secure means if you've got our warranty on your transaction, whether it's a buyer or seller, or you get the waiver that's on the order for side. And for up to a year after closing, if there's any type of issue that arises and you've got an E&O deductible because you've got to open a claim, we're there with 75% of your deductible up to $3,750. So if you have the warranty in place or you have a waiver signed, either way, we're going to be there if something does happen and you have an E&O claim. We saw in 2022 over 2021, we're headquartered in Michigan. And typically Michigan has a history of about 1.2% of transactions end up in some type of, whether it's an outright lawsuit or mediation, but about 1.5%. In 2022, it was 4.5%. So it really tripled over the course of a year. I think being driven a lot by buyers without home inspections. So we're definitely seeing overall a trend because we pay claims for agents when they have a need of claim and the deductible and they come to us with their client secure. So we definitely can see that that's rising. And it can take longer to get to close just because of some issues buyers are running into, affordability, some different things that are happening there. So, and I should step back for a minute before we go any further. Because if you're familiar with America's Preferred Home Warranty, and how many people here have used a warranty in their business? Anybody? How many, does anybody have one on their own home that they've used? All right. So primarily what we cover, the anachronism is PEACH. So it's plumbing, electrical, appliances, cooling, and heating. Those are the primary things we cover, but in the brochure it goes into detail about what we do cover. So that's just, if you haven't used us, that's what we're there for. So systems and appliances, primarily breakdowns. The other difference with us, if you ever used another home warranty company, is we do not have a list of contractors. We don't have, you're not waiting for us to make a phone call and get someone out there for you. The homeowner chooses whoever they want. So whether it's the coverage on a listing for the seller that ultimately transfers into 1 year for the buyer, or the new home buyer, they always choose who they want for the work. So that really is a big difference. A lot of times you might hear a plumber and electrician say they don't want to work with a home warranty company. That's primarily because they're waiting 30 to 60 days to get paid for the work, when they're typically paid the day the work's completed, right? So we're able to pay contractors over the phone with a credit card the day of the work. So just imagine the scenario, maybe somebody got up this morning, even though it's gonna be warm this afternoon, it was pretty chilly this morning, their heater wasn't working. They would call our 800 number. Typical wait time to get someone live is about 15 seconds, except during the first heat wave of the summer. It could be 2 or 3 minutes. That's our busiest time of the year. But we have 2 call centers in Michigan. They're 24/7, 365 days a year. So the homeowner calls, they just say, hey, my heater's not working. We give them a claim number. If they have an idea of what it is, fine, you know, we'll take any information they can offer. They call whoever they want to come and do the work. When they get there, they diagnose the problem and a quick call back to say what it is. And if it's a covered item, go ahead, fix it, call us back. When you're completed, homeowner's happy with your work, we'll pay you with a credit card. So I always say, don't even mention home warranty when you're calling for service, because they're thinking of, I'm waiting forever for a check to come. They're gonna get paid that day with us. So it's a really, really different situation. Working on the brokerage side as a relocation director, we used to get vacant homes, corporate vacant homes, somebody would be transferred for their job. They, maybe in some markets, you know, they tried to sell it for 3 to 6 months, they never got an offer, and the corporation purchased it. So we would get those homes to sell, but we were also doing kind of free property management, right? So and they almost always had a home warranty on them. And the biggest problem I had with the home warranty company was something would go wrong. We'd call in with a claim and try to get someone out there. And sometimes it would take a week or 2 weeks. And I hear this from agents a lot. It would take a week or 2 weeks to get someone out there. In the meantime, I had an unhappy corporate client calling me and saying, Colette, why is the heater fixed? Well, if I could use the list of contractors, and every agent has their list of go-to people, if I could have used them, it would be fixed and we'd be up and running, but I'm waiting for someone to come out from the home warranty company. So that was why when I was approached by a recruiter with America's Preferred, different business model, where were you when I needed you? Otherwise, it would be hard for me to be up here and be talking about home warranty and actually work as a sales manager for a warranty company, if it weren't for that business model, because that makes all the difference. Absolutely. So just so everybody, like, we're all starting at the same place with warranty knowledge. So, okay. So some facts about listing with warranties. And these are from Gallup, NAR, some different studies that were done, not from our research. Typically, you'll get 3% or more money on average. So if you include a home warranty, and it kind of takes, you know, you want to take any barrier away from someone making an offer on the home now. Buyers are, and this is again from, I talk to agents all day long, they're worried about affordability, right? The rates went up, the prices haven't really, so you haven't seen a major drop in prices either. So now they're even a little bit more worried about their budget because they're going to pay more every month. We're looking at $300, $500, $700 more a month for a lot of buyers. So now they're worried about that. So this means they might be more comfortable with that slightly higher offer. I would say right now, I'm thinking it's really more around 2% in this market. But think about your average sale price, 2% more, the home warranty is probably paying for itself. And with that, then the seller's going to get some coverage during the listing period too. So typically homes sell faster when they have a home warranty on them. And keeping the deal together, and this is really important. And this is why a lot of those buyers during the last couple of years, that had that crazy high bid that allowed them to win that house. A lot of the times their warranty was paid for by the seller. Sellers have been paying for warranties all along for the buyer without getting any of the benefits for themselves up front. Because you have to have the warranty on the listing before it goes under contract for the seller to get their benefits. So they've been paying for them, but without any benefits to themselves. But the reason they've been doing it is they don't want to worry about things happening post-closing. Something goes wrong. I had a call at 2 separate agents, the Keller Williams down at the Jersey, or not the Jersey Shore, down at the Delaware beaches. I always have to remember, it's the Jersey Shore, but it's the Delaware beaches. I don't know why, they're completely different. But 2 separate calls from agents down there. One was a refrigerator, one was the air conditioning, because in the summer, within a week, buyers moving in, air conditioner went on one, refrigerator went for the other. The first call they made was to their agent, not to us, kind of forgetting, oh yeah, I have a home warranty. And both agents said, thank God, when I told them to file the claim, it was covered, because guess what? They were looking at me, like, what am I gonna do for them? And there's kind of a saying, if you don't have a home warranty, you become the home warranty. And that's what sellers just want, they don't want that hassle after closing. And that's what the buyer having the home warranty really helps them avoid. So we do help a lot of agents with more listings, and through the crazy market that was all the sellers. I have a lot of agents, and a lot of them are Keller Williams agents who were putting a warranty on every single listing. And why was that? They're going out and they're saying, hey, guess what? We're going to cover you with some coverage, complimentary coverage. There's also an upgrade that they can purchase for $100. They don't pay for it until closing, but then that would include the kitchen appliances and the heater and the air conditioner. The standard coverage is really about the hot water heater, the plumbing and electric, the complimentary coverage for that seller. But they'll go out and say, we're going to cover you during the listing period. So you may have a claim. Something now that you're seeing some more people do home inspections. Some of those things might be even items that come up on a home inspection. You find out, hey, maybe one of the burners on the range doesn't work, things like that, that seller then actually has some coverage. But what we do on the back end is after closing for up to 2 years, if there's any type of legal action on the property, we're there for the seller with the first $1,000 of legal fees. So it's not going to fight a legal battle for them, but when they have, I call it the deer in the headlights moment, when they find out that that buyer really is angry, that you can say to them, look, this is why we got this for you. Call an attorney, sit down with them, figure out the best course of action. And kind of help them, have some calm in that point of time where they're not calm usually, but we're there to pay for that consultation. Depending on where you are, $1,000 could be an hour, depending upon the attorney, it could be 2 or 3 hours. And if it's a pretty simple case, they might be able to come up with a plan with you in far less than that anyway. But for them to find out, what, this isn't going anywhere, or maybe you want to offer them this, and let's just nip this in the bud. But get that advice from an attorney about how to move forward. It really helps calm people down. So that's the reason. And one other thing I'm going to tell you about. So higher commissions, yes. So 2 to 3% higher sale price. Going to get you a little bit more in commissions, which means the seller, if they're paying for this, and I think there's a lot of the agents that have been doing it the past few years, they've been paying for the warranty themselves. They offer it. List with me. I'm going to cover you before and after the closing. But right now, I think as the market shifts, I think there's a really good argument to be made for the seller when they're listing the house to pay for it. Because they might also be asked to pay for it by that buyer who brings them the best offer. So why not have them get some benefit out of it, right? So higher commissions, reduce risk. We talked about that, and we talked about, less likely that it's going to blow up and turn into something. So those 2 calls that those agents got, angry buyers, air conditioner, refrigerator, went away. There's a claim was paid, they calmed down. Were they angry at first? Yes, nobody's happy when their AC goes out and it's 90 degrees. No one's in a good mood, but everything kind of calmed down. And that's what your seller wants. So we want to increase revenue, so one of those things is the $50 fee we're able to pay you through the market center. When you get your login with Real Pro, and if you have any questions, it is pretty straightforward, but call me. I'll take 10 or 15 minutes, we could do a Zoom, I could share my screen, show you exactly how to order it, the data collection form. You need to complete in 60 days from the date of closing. Then once we receive payment for the warranty, plus that lets us pay the market center, and the market center will pay you. So it's a nice little bit of, revenue that's coming in. Quality referrals, okay. Here's what I thought when I saw, Deirdre, the 33 touch program. Is everybody doing this? Is everybody involved with their database doing like a high touch program? Because it's something I've seen be so successful. I wasn't surprised when I saw Deirdre talking about that. So you think you would probably figure that when you work with a buyer and the buyer has a claim, you're probably going to get notified, right? So we'll let you know, but it's your buyer and they're in your database anyway, right? You're reaching out to them. It's a great call when we tell you there's been a claim and we get back to you when the claim is completed. So you're not walking into the middle of them waiting for their air conditioner to be fixed or anything. The AC's been fixed, contractor's been paid, everything's good. We'll let you know, hey, by the way, your buyer that bought 123 Main Street, they had a claim for $1,500 for their air conditioner. Great warm call. Hey, I heard, that your AC went, or that's why I recommended getting this on warranty. Everything's okay. Just want to check on it, right? So that's a great call. But think about it this way, because there are no stats. I think it might be in the next slide. It's not, but there are no stats that say after a year, 92% of buyers can't remember their agent's name. Why is that? They never heard from them again. They closed. Maybe they checked in on them a week or two after closing to see how everything was. They never heard from them after that. So we call them orphan buyers. They've made their purchase and now it's 6 months later and they don't even remember their agent's name. So what happens with us, if you put the warranty on your listing before it goes under contract, it closes. It's probably not going to be your buyer, right? It's probably going to be the co-op's buyer. But because you or your seller paid for this warranty, we're going to let you know when it's a claim. Same thing, the claim's been paid, everything's closed, everything's good, taken care of. But think about this, because when you're in Real Pro, you're going to get the buyer's information to set up the warranty, right? Their phone number, their email address. We let you know there's been a claim. You pick up the phone. They haven't heard from their agent, right? And you say, hey, you might not remember me, I represented the seller, we provided the warranty, and I understand that you had a claim for your air conditioning. I just wanted to check and make sure everything went okay. Just want to make sure everything's fine with you. Wow. Do you think they're going to remember you? And you put them in your database and start marketing to them, and it started with that one phone call. Just checking on you. Yes.
Did you talk about the warranty being transferable? If you buy it, is one time only?
It's transferable. Well, yeah, it usually is because of the time frame for 1 year. But this did actually happen. It was so funny. I walked into a broker's office at Chester Springs, and she looked at me. She's like, "I was just going to call you." She had someone who had purchased a warranty. They bought a house. They probably had settled maybe just 2 months before this. And she said, believe it or not, she said, they got a call from her today. She needs to sell the house. I'm going out there, we're listing it. She said, she has 10 months left on her warranty. Can she offer that to the buyer? I said, yeah, absolutely. So, maybe it was at that point, might have been, but they closed, might have been 8 months left. But yes, you can transfer that. So whatever's left on that warranty, you can transfer to the buyer. And usually with the cycle, it's, I don't know if you could do it with another one, but it usually is only one person that you would end up being transferring it to. But yes, you can do that. So that's why when I talked about the agents that were putting warranties on their listings all through the craziness of a seller's market, that was why. And I have one agent, and I'll tell you her name because you might know her. She's Keller Williams out in media, Maureen Inglesby. Maureen Inglesby gets more listings from somebody that 3-4 years ago bought the house. She was the listing agent, But guess who they call when they're ready to move? They want to list the house. They're calling Maureen. It's because she stays in touch with them. She uses those claims, she makes the initial consultation, and then she just keeps marketing to them. So she's at a point, and I think that Deirdre was talking sort of about prospecting today. She's past prospecting. She did that. She did that to get her business started. This grows your database. And I remember watching on Zoom, and I'm trying to remember who it was from Keller Williams that was on your sales meeting call back in November. And everybody asked him, okay, 2023 looks a little more challenging. What should we be doing? And his answer, and everybody chuckled at first, and he said, love on your database. And then he started explaining, and it's like, you've got your future business, the whole funnel's right there in your database. And I just heard JP say you can transfer 13,000 contacts in like 11 minutes, which is crazy. But take advantage, take what Deirdre was talking about seriously, and really work your database and stay in touch with them. That's how you're going to grow your business. And that's how eventually you will get to that point where you're not having to spend a lot of time prospecting, because you've got those referrals, the referrals and the follow-up business from all those folks in the database. And that's really how you want to be. I worked with an agent, oh my gosh, she was down in Wayne in Coldwell Banker years ago. And she was at that time about 75. And she'd been in business a long time, about 25 years at that point. And she kept trying to retire. She was like, I'm kind of done. But somebody would call her and say, well, my grandson's buying his first house. Could you just help him? Or, oh, well, now my best friend's buying a house too. Could you just help them for us? And that was it. She worked her database. And you have command. So I was excited when I saw Deirdre talk about that, because that really is how so many agents are winning more listings and really growing their business. So just quickly to go over for the sellers, they've got complimentary coverage, which is primarily hot water heater and plumbing and electrical. Excuse me. There is an upgrade for $100 that would cover all the kitchen appliances, the heater and the air conditioner. You don't pay for it till closing, right? And so it's really kind of a no risk thing, because if for some reason you would list the house and it wouldn't sell, or they took it off the market, now with people doing inspections again, they might find something, like maybe there's a structural issue and they've got to pull it off the market. You can cancel it and it's not going to cost you anything. If they had a claim on that upgrade, so say it was the refrigerator or the air conditioning, it was $100 for the upgrade. If they did have a claim on that portion of it, you would owe at the most $100. So to have that seller in that place where they've got coverage on the house, plus they've got that list secure. So if anything should come up. Now, if you cancel it for any reason, like list secure goes away too. So it's not like I can put it on, pull it off before it closes, and then I still have list secure. That's gone. They're not going to have that. But it is a lot of reducing the risk for the seller, which a lot of people aren't really talking about in all listing presentations, that there is exposure. And it's interesting because I can remember even back before I came to America's Preferred, but our legal counsel has definitely said this, but definitely the brokerage, our legal counsel said it. Sellers think they don't have any exposure because it's being sold as is. They're not doing a home inspection. Totally wrong. We live in the United States of America, where anyone can sue anyone else at any time. The case may not go the way they want it to, but our experience is that that's happening. So we're paying more of those client secure claims. So mindset of the buyer, they can choose who's in their home. This was funny with a coincidence for us, because a lot of people thought we had changed that for COVID, that they choose who they want, but that's how we always worked. But since COVID, I think people are still a little bit more aware of who's coming into their house. But I've also had, I know my husband traveled a lot, and I use a plumbing and heating company they're not the cheapest. But my husband would travel a lot. I'd be home with the kids. I could call them. They sent someone out right away, so I knew I wasn't going to have kids screaming about, we don't have hot water or whatever it is. But they never sent anybody that I was like I was be nervous letting that person into my house. And then they did the job right the first time, and they cleaned up after themselves. So to me, I was like, that's who I want. They're a little bit more expensive, but that's who I want. I don't necessarily want to take a chance with anybody else. So this way, I have that. Unfortunately, I can't have one of our warranties because it would be a conflict of interest. So I would love to have it because then I get paid like I have a warranty, plus I can use exactly what I want. So get somebody out there at their convenience. And then choose how they spend the claim, because it might be an $1,800 repair for a heater. And they're looking at the heater and they're saying it's 25 years old, it's really inefficient, my gas bills are super high, I want something new. They can choose to say, you know what, give me that $1,800, I'm gonna buy a new unit. So we can either use the credit card and pay, like suppose that their repair person came out and they also can provide a new unit. You can actually give the repair person that $1,800 over the phone with a credit card. Or they can purchase it and send us the paid receipt and we'll send them a check for that. And what we actually can do for homeowners, we can do transfers. So we can do a direct deposit into their checking account if that's what they want. So they have the money usually within 24 to 48 hours with a direct transfer. So make it as easy as possible for the homeowners, what we're trying to do. So some of the objections that you might hear. Well, oh wait, if the buyer asks for it, we'll pay for it then. That's great, and you can still do that. You can satisfy the buyer by getting it then, but then there's no listed. They don't have any coverage. They might have gotten a slightly higher offer if they had a warranty on it, but they'll never know because now they're waiting. They decided, yeah, I'm just gonna wait. If the buyer asks for it, fine. If not, I'm not paying for it. Just one more cost to my seller. It can be built into the sale price, knowing that you're gonna get, excuse me, 2 to 3% higher. So it really is something that, yes, there's a fee for it. It's either $4.99 with $100 deductible or $535 with $75 deductible for single family homes. But it's really gonna help build probably more than that in total sale cost. They don't cover it. So here's the thing. I'm working on the real estate side. So I'm here talking to you about houses that are part of a real estate transaction. We have a whole other side that's direct to consumer. So you've been in your house 5 years and you're thinking, oh, maybe I need a home warranty. They handle this. I handle all the real estate part of the transaction. Most of these homeowners are going to have some type of a failure in the first year. A lot of those things come in the beginning. I've seen a lot in the week after closing, especially with home inspections. What we want to do is get these folks to renew. If we don't cover things during the first year, is anybody going to renew? Probably not. Probably not. So that's one of the things, and we have like a 92% renewal rate. So if we weren't covering anything, I don't think we have that. But for you, what you need to know is if you ever have a question or concern about any type of a claim, call me, let me get involved. As a relocation director, my big fear was, there were only so many brokers that played in that space in every market, like in the Philadelphia area. And there were lots of other brokers that wanted to be in that space and get that business. So my concern was always somebody has a bad experience. Instead of coming to me and say, hey, Colette, let me tell you about this. Let me tell you what happened with your agent and my transferee. They would just say, you know what, we're going to start using XYZ brokerage instead. We've got lots of choices. So that's why I was saying, please do me the favor of letting me know if there is a problem. It doesn't happen that often. But if there is a problem, I'll call me and say, hey, Colette, just heard from my homeowner. They're not happy with this claim. What can you do? And let me research it and see. And I almost always can do something, especially wouldn't want to tell other companies about this, but this is a brokerage we have a big partnership with. So you're like at the top of my list. If you call me and say, hey, you got a problem, it's like, and when I'm working to get it readjusted, I'm telling them, hey, this is Keller Williams, Philadelphia guys. I need some help here. We need to get this worked out and make that customer happy and make sure the agent feels this was a really good choice for me to do this. Yes.
It's like, offer the client, hey, I'll pay this for you for the first year.
Some agents do that usually as a closing gift instead of buying, whatever that or gift certificate. Sometimes they'll do this. And the reason they do it is they want to know about the claims because they want to make that warm touch. they want to make sure that after it closes, if something goes wrong, there's somebody else writing a check and not them. So that's one of the big reasons that they do it. Yeah, it's something agents do, although I think if you have a buyer and you're not really necessarily wanting to do that. I have a couple things and I'll also email this out to everybody. I think we have some downstairs, a home buyer and home seller benefit sheets, and it's a really good way to start the conversation. Here's why I think you should get this. So, because I think right now there really is a good argument for both buyers and sellers to purchase it. But if you want to purchase it, you want to make sure they know why you're doing it for them and they understand. This is really a value that I'm providing to you. So they don't just think it's like, oh, yeah, like that's their closing gift or like it's nothing. You want to make sure they know this is something of value that I'm giving you, because believe it or not, sometimes people forget they have home warranties, and that's why the agent gets the first call and they're mad. And the poor agent just, spent $500 to buy them a warranty to make sure they were covered. But that's the thing that a lot of agents find is they don't want to get a call. Hey, like looking at you as the agent, this just went, I just moved into this house last week. What are you going to do about it? They don't want those calls. So, and it's great if you can just say, remember, I got you a warranty, or remember, we talked about this, and this is why I highly recommend that you get the warranty. And it really kind of helps diffuse the situation. So even if they don't, for some reason, have the warranty, then you're able to say, we talked about this. This is why I really, really recommended it. And why I got you some waiver too. And I'm big on the waiver. Only because imagine this. I had a mentor. I got my license back in 1995. Where the things were a little bit different then because we were just moving into buyer agency in Pennsylvania. When I actually first got licensed, there was no buyer agency in Pennsylvania. It moved in, I think in '96, it kind of started. And it was a little bit like, there were a lot of gray areas back then. So I had a mentor, she was a phenomenal agent, did a lot of business, her customers, all clients all loved her. She went out on a listing appointment. She talked about the home warranty. Seller said, no, you know what, I don't think we need that. Everything in the house is newer. We're not doing that. This was a lot more paper intense too. You weren't sitting with your laptop or your tablet doing the listing presentation. You had a lot of paper. She moved on to the next thing. Never got them to sign the waiver, right? There was a waiver, she never got them to sign it. Goes to closing, they get sued by their buyer. They come back to her and say, you know what, if we had a home warranty, this probably never would have happened and we wouldn't have been sued by this buyer. And they're suing her. And she said, but we talked about it. I offered it to you, you said no. And he said, I don't remember that conversation. They ended up going to court. She had nothing to prove she had talked about it. She didn't have her signature on the waiver and she ended up losing. So it was really, I remember that so clearly because it was sort of a wake up call. You go to class and you get your license and you're responsible for a lot of things. But that was somebody that had been standing over my shoulder. And now all of a sudden she's in court and they're telling her loss and she had to pay her paid it, but she owed some type of remuneration to that seller.
When you go through the process of signing a seller warranty, do it already come with a waiver?
We have in our brochure and they're downstairs and I'll send everybody out a copy. Everything is it's available either in paper or digital, right? And also everything is Keller Williams approved. So it's all red and black. It says Keller Williams approved vendor, which is really nice to hand to your customers, but it's all free and it ships for free. So if you want actually the paper warranties to hand to somebody, or you want to have those buyer or seller benefit sheets when you're talking, I can show you when we get you set up on Realpro. Order that. It's free and it ships for free. If you want it sent to your house instead of the office, do that. But I will say, right now, take advantage of it because everything is so expensive. I don't know about you, but I go to the grocery store and it's like, that must be a typo. That can't possibly be right. So take advantage of it because it's free. We have folders. They just say KW on the front. The inside is totally blank and there's a place for your card. So if you are handing them, doing any movie lines, take advantage of it. Use them. It's not like it's plastered with our name all over the place. It's red, it says KW on it, so you use it, really, there's sign writers, all kinds of stuff, but I'll show you, you know, when I set up a Zoom with you, I'll share my screen, and I'll walk you through that, we can get anything that you need. Who has questions? No, I covered just about everything. I do, let me pass out my cards. And let me put my last. This is our. No, it doesn't look like that. Okay. Normally, there's a screen in here that's got all of my contact information. I changed bags this morning. I did not have, I left all of my stuff in my briefcase at the train station. I apologize. But when I get the list from JP, I'll send everybody an email and you'll have all of them. I apologize, but I decided I was taking the train instead of driving. You know, I thought I really want to kind of bad from suburban station. It's not that far, but it was. I had problems. It was I kind of to do that, and I didn't grab my business cards. I apologize. Thank you very much. Anybody have any other questions? So we'll get you access to RealPro. You'll get an email with a login and password. And then if you want to set up a short Zoom, we can go through it one by one and just take 15 minutes. You'll be all set, ready to go. And we'll order materials for you, we'll show you how to order a warranty, show you how to do that data collection so you can get the $50 of warranties and get you a whole lot more listings. But most importantly, right? Because that's still the name of the game. I love working with buyers when I was an agent, but remember the broker saying, you know, listings are the lifeblood, you know, and after a while it became clear. And I think this past year, hats off to you if you closed a buyer, because it's really, really hard to get to that table. If you had a buyer that you were successful on the house, it was tough. It's tough, but something's going to change. I've seen, what is it now, 28 years that I've been in the real estate world. It does, yes, and eventually it's gonna change again. I just don't know, I don't know how we're gonna get over the inventory shortage. I haven't, that has not come to me yet. I've been thinking about it. I don't know where it's gonna end, but that's what we need. We need to get, you know, I always say I'm part of the problem. My husband and I are empty nesters. We're still in our house. And a lot of our neighbors are too. And people just aren't moving, but it is easier to stay in your house longer, because now it's easier to get people to do things. You know, you can get somebody who comes and scare the outside, somebody can clean, you know, there are all these handyman companies, so you can get somebody to come out and do like 4 or 5 little hot jobs. And it's easier for people to stay at their house. As long as you have a problem with steps, there's really kind of no reason. So, but thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It was nice to see everybody. And you'll be hearing from us. I'll get you, and I'll get you, and I'll just send you out an email and you'll have all my contact. All right. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Happy Wednesday. Name of the game, right? I think are you getting some time back actually? So 10 minutes. Hey, 10 minutes is 10 minutes. You can get a call in. Has anybody been to Bold? Anybody in here done Bold yet? I did it. I was in Bold, not as signed up, but I was there because we were sponsoring a Bold, and I did this. What the Bold teacher said: take 10 minutes, pick 10 people out of your contacts, send them a text, see if you can get a meeting. I thought, you know what? I'm sitting here. I'm not doing anything. It sounds good to me. I got 3 appointments set up. So you have 10 minutes. Yeah, like pick 10 people, send some text and see what you can get set up. A lot of people, even if they don't want to meet with you, will say, hey, thanks, it was good to hear from you. Thanks for thinking of me. So I decided I love that one. That was what I took away from them. Thank you. Thank you.
No, if you haven't seen it, and last year's meeting, there was like, saying, which was 5% of commission, so. I don't know how much it's been done. I mean, it is, I, you know, I think if you want to have the training, you have to do all that. You know, do other, you know, but I think it was like, you would just have to have it probably. But now that I know that, like, instead of, okay, yeah, I think it's okay. I was wondering if someone was like teaching from the TV, and I was like, what is that?